The Dr. Oba Tashaka Show. Free your mind, and the rest will follow. A show for all who are on the journey to discover the truths about their identity, history, culture, politics, spirituality, and family relationships. This is a show for the Black Freedom Movement and the Black Power generation and the hip-hop generation, including Black Lives Matter and associate activists, all of whom are seeking change. Dr. Oba Tashaka and his guests are dropping knowledge and insight from his successful organizing, research, writings, and innovative thoughts, the best of which have piped into God's mind to lift you up higher and higher. To the bosses, OGs, rappers, influencers, and those looking to evolve from the constraints of misinformation and miseducation to build a foundation for personal growth, love, and mental freedom. Check out the wisdom of the OR. Yeah, that's the original revolutionary, Oba T, who inspired 1 million black men with his rousing speech at the Million Man March, and who continues to fight, write, and speak the truth. Dr. Oba Tashaka is one of the deepest deep thinkers in the world today. A quote by Dr. Asa Hilliard. Dr. Oba Tashaka, then Bill Bradley, was the best leader organizer in the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE. An endorsement from Dr. George Wiley, Associate Director of National CORE and the best organizer blacks produced in the 1970s as the organizer of the National Welfare Rights Organization. The Dr. Oba Tashaka Show. Free your mind, and the rest will follow.
Greetings to all you viewers and the first ones to click in today. You're going to have a real treat. We have as a guest today, Radical. It's good to be in the company of a fellow radical. There are very few of us who are black. Walter Riley, attorney Walter Riley. And we're having him on today because he's a fighter for African people. And he is also one of the best informed people on the Haitian situation today, and a person who plays a leading role in seeing that they get the kind of support that they deserve. And so the topic for today is the state of Haiti today, live interview with attorney Walter Riley. Welcome, brother. How you doing?
Good to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you. You know, when you see a smile on my face, there's a reason, because I'm not a regular smiler. So it's got to be something that inspires me. This brother here inspires me. I just want to remind you to hit the red button for subscribing. Hit the like button to trick these algorithms. They've got us on the slow feed, you know, and I don't care because we're hanging in here and we're getting a lot of younger people. That's especially what the show's for, but it's for anybody that loves freedom. Before getting into the show and getting into an introduction to attorney Walter Riley, I just wanted to, first of all, remind you of why we've been doing some reruns lately. We've done about 167 shows, and it's been over 3 years. It's been hard work. Every show is a chapter in a book where we've interviewed people. They've been masters in their field. And for the last 4 shows, we've been covering a new field of history, the Twa. And it's been a good response. I did that because we picked up a lot of new subscribers, and they don't know where to go back into this book of shows. And the Twa are neglected in history, world's first people. They give birth to just societies based on male, female, equal empowerment. And so part one dealt with their presence in Europe, America, and Asia. Part two went back to the first show and dealt with them as the origin of humanity. Part three covered how they were the world's first ancestors, and as Africans evolved from the hunter-gatherer stage, the most just society stage in the history of the world, then evolved into agriculture. They're the ones that civilized the older Africans. So I went into this last show was on their influence in civilizing the Niger-Congo Bantu people. By the way, the linguistic pattern of Africans in the diaspora in Haiti, the United States, that is given various names, 80% of our people speak it, is a Niger-Congo Bantu linguistic speech pattern that most of our 80% of our people speak. Lorenzo Turner is the expert on this. He documented this. And it was a primary language of the Haitian people. They spoke their own languages coming out of Africa, but they also spoke this linguistic thing. I'm married to a Barbadian. They do the same thing. So these shows were to introduce you to a new school of history that's revolutionary. Now, we're now facing what's happening in Palestine. And the people of Palestine have been dispossessed and landless and have been a colony of the Israeli settler state, the Zionist state, and the United States that supplies them. And so they have been doing what the head of Israel calls mowing the grass. They consider the Palestinian people grass. And so they have been regularly killing them in the West Bank and the Gaza, 2 open concentration camps. And now they're committing genocide against the Palestinian people in the name of getting revenge for what Hamas did. But they failed to mention that Netanyahu, who heads up Israel right now, backed Hamas against the PLO and backed both, one against the other, actually Hamas against the PLO, to justify never having a 2-state solution while going in and dispossessing the Palestinian people, stealing their land. I was listening to a show on KPFA where one Israeli moved into a Palestinian's house and they dare not remove him because if they raised it with the Israeli government, they would send the military in and dispossess him of his house. But this guy is making a stake to his house. And they've disrupted the olive harvest in the West Bank and gone in and stole land. And so this is a constant thing. And Netanyahu is another Trump. And sorry to say, Biden isn't too different in his policies that he's carrying out. So we want to extend our support to the Palestinian people. We're sorry about the people in Israel that were killed by Hamas, but this is called war, and it's also blowback. September the 11th, that was blowback for what America did. So we don't want to see anyone in the world dying. We especially do not want to see the Palestinian people who have been suffering and denied their right to self-determination. So we extend our support to them. I want to say the American government should be pulling out of all this stuff, but they, of course, have armed and backed Israel. There should be a peace, and there should be some kind of negotiations that provide some kind of justice for the Palestinians. What do you have to say about this, Brother Riley?
Well, there's no doubt that Palestinians are living in occupation. The role of Israel has been to remove the Palestinian people, and then particularly clear in the most recent approach. Before October 7th, Palestinians were cut off. They had limited water supply, limited food supply. Others were unable to get in to offer the kind of help that was needed, medical difficulties in delivering care for the folks. So the occupation has created tremendous suffering over these long number of decades. And the approach has been to try and develop support for Palestinians as much as possible. The role of the authorities that have been given leadership to Palestine has had questionable relationships with the government that is occupying. And I guess we see that in many parts of the world. It was inevitable that there would be a breakout, an attempt at breakout. That's due to the nature of the horrific occupation in Palestine. Hamas is not necessarily the organization that's doing the best job for representing the people. There are class differences in Palestine, and the Palestinian people are constantly struggling for their independence and trying to develop political leadership that can lead them to that. The world is going to be changed since the occupation, and the world is going to be changed by the bombardment and the genocide that is taking place right now, the movement that's developing, and people around the world having a new look at what's happening in Palestine and with Israel. There's going to have to be something new. Israel can no longer expect to have safety with this kind of bombardment of hospitals, the bombardment of people who are trying to escape. Palestine can no longer have a stable relationship with a representative force that is negotiating with the Israeli government. Something new has to develop.
Well put, because that's also true of the West Bank. The PLO is corrupt. They signed on to an agreement with the Israelis to basically be a police force for them, and have collected benefits on their own behalf, and have also been cracking down on the Palestinian people as the people are being bombed in the Gaza. So this is also a lesson about what elites do too often if they have not aligned themselves and killed their status, died, or committed what some revolutionaries call revolutionary suicide, and become one with the people. They often end up being servants of those who are oppressors. So that's important. And I think we'll see some parallels in that and what we're dealing with Haiti. I want to note this, that I didn't say this in the beginning deliberately. Attorney Walter Riley is the father of Boots Riley, of whom I know he has great pride and is a radical hip hopper. And I also know that he probably wouldn't be the radical he is if he didn't have his daddy, though he might. But I know that you have definitely served as an example for him. And I know you should be greatly proud of your son.
Yes, I am. I am very proud of him. Not because he gets recognition, but because of the recognition he gets for what he does.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
he stands for.
Yeah, exactly.
So I am so happy that he has principled relationships with people, principled political positions in the world, and he fights for them, and particularly in struggle. He's a filmmaker also, and he's fighting right now to be able to continue to making films because there are attacks on him as a result of his political positions, particularly his positions around the Palestinian support right now.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I had the pleasure of seeing him at the Y. It was a couple of years ago, and we renewed our relationship. So yeah, a beautiful brother, a beautiful daddy, and I know he has a beautiful mama as well. Tell your audience, tell this audience something about yourself before we get into this discussion on Haiti. You're a radical attorney. I went to law school for 2 years and then decided I didn't want to be a lawyer. But at the time I went, you didn't really have, at that time, what you'd call movement activist attorneys, attorneys who stood up for the movement. It was just emerging at that time. So give people a little background on you and what takes you to this point in your life.
Well, I grew up in Durham, North Carolina, and in Durham County by and large, but uh, in tobacco country. My folks were tenant farmers when I was born. They stopped farming in the early 50s. And my dad went into construction work, and my mother did various kinds of jobs, but more as a domestic worker. And one of number 9 of 11 children. And there was a lot of political development growing up in that community, growing up in that family of my uncles and aunts were by and large farmers, tobacco farming. And we'd been there. Our family's pretty, but there before emancipation, brought in, and we were all aware of our position in society growing up. And growing up in the 50s, as you know, we got enlightened to a lot of things. I first met you back in 1965 or so. I came out here. When I came out here, I was still a field secretary for Corps. And but I couldn't raise my family back in North Carolina because of not being able to get any job outside of that because of my civil rights activity, having been involved in organizing sit-in movements, jobs campaigns, and voter registration campaigns. And we also did a lot of work around education back in that time. I guess the movement was more popular because of the sit-in movement. That's what caught the press a lot. My wife had been a freedom rider and was in jail in Parchman. She was from out here, so we ended up back out here, involved in political movement. As you remember, we were meeting down there on O'Farrell Street at the time of the Watts Rebellion. And I remember you leading the organizing efforts in the Bay Area and other places. You were part of National Corps. And various aspects of the movement were developing. Those of us who had experience with the civil rights movement had some sense of what was going on in some of the urban areas as we got involved, and some sense of the needs and the way of mobilizing in the Black communities. And we all did it in various places across the country. I was part of that, as you were part of that. And I've been a radical activist. One of the things I found out from the civil rights movement is that I needed to have a lot more political understanding of the nature of society, the structural nature of society that we lived in. And we just can't appeal to the morality of the dominant political paradigm, that we have to have some sense of how change can be made. And that meant I spent a lot of time developing an understanding of the economics and politics of our society. And that led me to Marx's understanding of what the world was like and the need to unite with people around the world. I was part of the Malcolm X group that was organized out here. I worked with the Panthers. I did housing work. I did some of the same kinds of things you did. I worked in the Midwest around welfare rights, welfare reform, working in the auto plants. And I decided after being an organizer in rank and file activities that I should go to law school because I was getting too old to continue to work in the auto plants. So I graduated law school in 1980 and have been an activist, radical lawyer. Radical meaning that I see that defending the rights of people, of humanity, and that's more important than property rights. I see it more important than developing and maintaining the political position of the political, powerful elites in this country, and that working people have to unite with working people across this country and across the world. And that means understanding what's happening with revolutionary organizing that's going on and that had been going on in Central America, South America, and Africa, playing a role with the anti-apartheid movement, playing a role with what was happening in Haiti, definitely trying to understand what's happening in the various revolutionary movements in Asia, South Asia. We cannot afford to be isolated in our cities and isolated in our minds. We have to see ourselves as part of an international struggle because the other side, the political powerful elites, the imperialists, the capitalists, powerful folks who run programs around the world are united in maintaining profits. Maybe not united with each other, but they're united in maintaining a system that exploits the land, exploits the people, and destroys the earth in order to make profits. And if we don't see that, we're damaged in our struggles. And if we don't see the need for building powerful economic, political groups within the grassroots movements around the world, we can't free ourselves here.
Yeah, that's interesting, your background and how it flows into your current work. In my case, we led the only successful Black Power, Black Freedom movement in the North, defeating an entire economic power structure, a host of other things. But the success taught me a lesson, and it was that the system is not structured to produce freedom for our people. And even though we got a lot of jobs, thousands, I could see that while that was an important contribution, that wasn't going to provide the answer. And so it led me on my path, which was to dig from my history first, African and African American history, and then world history, to begin to come up with paradigms for just societies. So that's been my approach to revolution. I'm a revolutionary. I call myself an original one because I'm coming out of a new bag, trying to draw from the best of our cultures to update it to today for just societies. And and I've taken not a dime for any movement I've led. Nobody owns me, like I know nobody owns you. And I may have made my mistakes, but aligning with my enemy wouldn't have been a mistake. It definitely ain't been one of them. Right. I don't kiss the ass of any system of any kind, whether it is black, brown, I don't care what color it is. If it's stepping on people, I'm opposed to it. And that's what I like about you. You are. And I often say, I'm not a Marxist, but I'm not anti-Marxist. I respect anyone that's out to create justice in the world. Anyone, you know what I mean? That may not be where I'm coming from philosophically, though in the end, we're the same, because I believe, like the Marxist position, equitable distribution of the wealth. I believe that definitely. I've just added equitable distribution of power. And so I've got a formula for that one coming out of our history, but we're on the same page. And that's why I respect you so much. Principles mean more than money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And that's how we maintain the struggle, how we are able to stay in it for so long, because any other road, any other path leads to compromises, leads to self-aggrandizement, leads to some sense of trying to build hero culture. And that doesn't help our struggles. It doesn't help us. So as we see what's happening here, whether it's, I was talking to somebody last night, the exploitation that occurs in our countries around the world, particularly the countries that have the legacy of the slave trade, impacting that the same kind of divide and conquer, the same kind of chaos that's organized by major imperialist powers happens right in East Oakland, West Oakland, right here. They have different forms because of different structural aspects of our relationships and power, but it's the same kind of disempowerment, the same kind of chaos. The way the police operate in our cities is the way the U.S. government's forces and whatever forces they're using operates in the global South. What's happening in Haiti, the use of NGOs, the use of military power or police power, and the use of State Department in creating destruction and extraction from our communities, and trying to find leadership in those communities who have faces that are acceptable in those communities to mislead. And that's what we do. That's what we are. That's what we are. And those parallels have to be understood, and the kinds of things that we all know when we're trying to build a change, structural change, revolutionary change in our society. We know how it operates. If we don't have a framework for our analysis, we simply go out and try and build some kind of moral position, and it will not have the ability to sustain itself, because trying to depend upon folks for moral convictions and moral development is not tied to the objective structural relationships that they have in society. And
that's true. And in the case of our movements out here, in my case, coming out of the San Francisco Freedom Movement, which is Bay Area and statewide, moral appeals played no role because there wasn't going to be any federal intervention. And look at when you go for it now, the FBI asked them to come in and do a report. Look what kind of reports you get. It's like calling on the National Ku Klux Klan. And so we had to use pure power and strategy. And so King could confuse the moral with the strategic because he did a good job strategically, and he was a moral spokesperson and the maximum one for the Black freedom movement in the South. But coming up north, there couldn't even be any pretense of moral appeal. He got into Chicago and saw something that he thought was worse than Mississippi. It was really the same. He had just stumbled into a jungle and didn't know how to handle it. In the north, it's got to be power. We called it Black power. It's got to be power. Moral
Absolutely.
appeals, forget it. It didn't work in the South, really. It was moral embarrassment, because when those kids got blown away with water hoses and dogs suck on them and everything else, the government was embarrassed because the world saw it. They weren't embarrassed because they were offended, but because it was an embarrassment in the world when America's rising and claiming to be the voice of freedom, when they're maintaining semi-colonialism inside the United States, modern day slavery. And so that could work in Birmingham, that could work in Selma and get you a civil rights and voting rights bill. That wasn't going to work in the North. You're going to have to flex some muscles. You're going to have to kick some behind. And so I agree with you on that. And the point you're making, I want you on some other shows where we can talk about the politics in local communities. And you're a real expert on what's going on out here and in a lot of areas in the United States where you've got Black elites and other elites, brown and others, who on the surface appear to be with you and are out there to lynch you. And you've got the same thing on the ignornet, because I say there's three nets: the Afronet, the ignornet, and the just the infonet, which is people who've got good positions like Amy Goodman or somebody. She ain't Black. She's putting a radical position out there. And some people on the ignornet, and that's where most people watch their stuff, they are being told things like, don't vote. Or they're being told things like, go to the Democrats and demand reparations. And if they don't give you reparations, don't vote. But during the whole period of Donald Trump being in the White House, they never told those same people to go to Trump and demand reparations. And if he didn't give them, don't vote, because Black people ain't going to vote Republican anyway in most cases. So they want to cancel the vote. So you've got a lot of confusion. For the first time on the ignornet, you have Black people pushing something that's getting over with the sector of our people, that Pan-Africanism is no good. Do you know what you're saying? You're saying African unity is no good. You're saying African power is no good. Go tell white people that. Go tell Bannon that. Go tell Bannon that he should cut his ties with the white nationalists in Europe. He's going to go tell Bush that he should cut his ties with NATO, which, by the way, he should. NATO is useless. NATO was set up so America could colonize Europe. It was not set up to threaten Russia. Russia had lost 27 million people and saved the West from Hitler. Exactly. And they're going to run around and create NATO as a false flag. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree. End NATO. You need to end it. And if Trump in his ignorant way was trying to do it, he was doing it for the wrong reason. He was doing the right thing, but he didn't know why. You know what I mean? So the thing is, we've got enemies within that look like us and confuse us because, as Attorney Riley said, we don't have a position, sometimes a political position, where we can see the world the way it operates. So, I think that's profound. I agree with you on every point that you just made.
Yeah, thank you. The nature of contradictions, the nature of dialectics is that anything, whether it's a phenomena or physical property, uh, the way it exists in the world is how it deals with the contradictions of the greater society or the greater environment, and also it is determined in large part by its internal contradictions. So, what's primary in a rock is its hardness, but it's also a place where there is air and all other kinds of things. What's primary in any phenomena is what's happening internally. Also, how we're moving forward. So, what we become in our own communities is that our internal struggles will often determine how we are relating and how we move in the world. Certainly, the dominant paradigms, the dominant aspects of society around us, capitalism, racism, anti-blackness, uh, that is not the same as racism. In many ways, anti-blackness has many aspects of what happens within our own communities. That's making alliances with people who are racist for any number of reasons: economic reasons, ignorance, sometimes out of moral suasions that people come through various kinds of mystical approaches. But internally, what we need to deal with here in the Bay Area, what we need to deal with in the United States, and what we need to deal with in the world is our internal weaknesses in dealing with the greater enemies of us, economic enemies, political elites, our positions in society, and governmental structures and structures that we have to organize around. And we don't understand what our internal approaches towards those things are, we become a problem. Right here in Oakland, for example, there are many aspects of the struggles that we are engaged with. I am particularly engaged with the struggle right now of criminal justice reform and supporting Pamela Price, who is the DA. And there are many aspects of supporting a system and working within a system that is designed to be oppressive, designed to keep us in our place. But we are trying to create a just reform right now around how people are prosecuted, what the nature of the policies are, what the nature of the policies of the greater incarcerations that are going on in our society. There are people who want political power in Oakland. There are people who want political positions in Oakland that are in fact endorsing right-wing positions, attacking people who are making political analysis, attacking people who are trying to make reform, and attacking Pamela Price simply because they want to be in office to create more incarceration.
Exactly.
They want to be in office for whatever they get out of their political position. And they haven't gotten much out of it or made any changes, but they just like the prestige. And at some point or another, we can talk about names as we go through some of these things, because we have to deal with issues in our communities. But, we've had some publicity around that more recently. The internal struggles that we are engaged in right now become particularly important. It was always that way from the 50s that we were involved in, the 60s, the civil rights movement, up to the present. Whatever is moving on, the issues around Black power and those who oppose it, the issues around political reform and those who primarily use reform for themselves and their own gaining positions, and those who want reform for mass changes, for structural changes. The issues have stayed with us for all these years, but we are making some movement. Masses of people are getting better educated. Masses of more and more people are in places where they're able to have learning and the structurals. I mean, the things that we have been able to gain in some of the universities, some of the intellectual, some of the academies, gives us an opportunity to learn more. And as you experienced, there's a lot more writing, a lot more dissemination of ideas and information to a greater number of people. Will have access to that. So there's changes. This is a part of that change. We see how far we can go. I'm 79 years old, so I'm sort of getting to the point. I'm waiting to see what everybody else is going to do.
Yeah, you're young compared to me. You're a youngster.
Yeah.
Your point about that, there are internal contradictions. For people that don't know what that means, is in our communities, we got people who are doing different things. And sometimes it looks like people who are fighting for you are actually fighting against you. And the system is very good at getting people to go against their own interests. And you can find yourself in a position where you think you're right and you're wrong, because the people who have put the stuff out there, like this stuff I was just telling you about don't vote and stuff. So they give you a piece of truth. Democrats and Republicans have a lot in common. And therefore, they're going to treat them like they're the same. But if you watch their line, their political position, they're really supporting one party, and it happens to be the reactionary Republican Party. But you don't see it because their line looks that way. And I think the point you're making about the struggles we're having in our communities, and it's going to tie into Haiti because we're going to get into that next. The question is, what is your position on the masses of the people? And in this case, the masses of Black people. Is your position going to help to advance their livelihood? Is it going to advance the development of their families, of their communities? Is it going to enable them to progress towards freedom? And if those policies, for example, the example you gave of Pamela Price, a progressive DA, who's a Black progressive DA, who they're trying to recall. You got some Blacks on the side of recalling her. And the same thing happened in San Francisco, where London Breed, who is the mayor of San Francisco, who's in the back pocket of the corporations, along with others, ran a recall on a white DA who was good, who was prosecuting police for murders, and put in place a Black DA who refused to prosecute some cops just recently on clear, straight up murder and other things. But if you're just going on Black and white, you won't see the difference. You got to look at their political position, and ultimately the Congressional Black Caucus, for example. Most of them are owned by the corporations that finance them. And they will often say in interviews, we're going to our donor base. That means the control base. There was a recent interview on C-SPAN where one of the Zionists who was speaking on behalf of the Israeli government was speaking before Jews in this country. And there's a split among Jews. There are some Jews who are opposing what is being done by the Zionist government in Israel. And she said, we've got a problem. Younger Blacks are giving us a problem. But then she said, but we control the other ones.
Wow.
Meaning the ones that they put in office. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And some of these have become completely silent with the war in Ukraine. Anything that the Democratic Party is in favor of, like war, they either shut up or they go along with to please their donor base. What good is that doing the masses of Black people? The average Black person in the United States doesn't know what neoliberalism means. But Blacks all over the world do. Why don't they know? Because if they did, they would skin their own leaders alive, because they are dancing according to that tune, including Jeffries, who is now the head of the caucus of the minority party in the House of Representatives, picked by Nancy Pelosi, who has herself become very rich by supporting the positions of the elite. So we will think, like some people I know, because, they go on looks. Oh, he looks good. Oh, he talks good. Hey, they all have got the talk. The question is, do they have the walk? Check out their walk. And their walk is, whose interests do they serve? When Barbara Lee stood up in the Congress and opposed both wars, in the beginning just war, ended up being Afghanistan and Iraq, the only one. You understand? That was her walk. Check out the talk, but see what the walk is. And if the walk ain't walking in your direction, serving your interests, it's no good. So this is important. Now, what I want to do is get into this Haitian situation. You have been involved in Haiti for a long time. And right now, you've got a situation going on in Haiti right now. But we've done a couple of shows on Haiti, the Haitian Revolution. We did one on a new look at Haiti. It's called, it's a new look on Haitian history. And, So, we put it in background. And so what I wanted to do, and then we talked about some current things with Haiti. So why is Haiti so important to the United States and the Western world? What is it that Haiti has that they want? What is it that Haiti poses that they see as a threat?
Well, what Haiti has is extraction um, potential. It has oil, it has other kinds of minerals that people can make a lot of money out of. And that's, what has been true for many other places. Particularly, we might know more about it for Africa because we've studied that for longer decades. But what Haiti also has is the potential for representing a political struggle in the world. Haiti's early history was to much of the evolving world like Cuba was at some point to the more present day society, a political example of what can be done when you stand up against the major powers and economic political powers in the world order. The Haitian Revolution defeated the most powerful army in the world at the time. And that was a group of Black folk with minimal military experience in the beginning and with minimal weaponry was able to defeat the French army. They defeated the British and they defeated the support from the U.S. At the time. But because it was an island, it could be surrounded by political, economic, imperial powers, and they had to pay reparations, which impoverished the country. Nobody wants to repay those reparations. Reparations have been repaid to many other groups in other countries. And as the Haitian people have struggled to make changes to develop independence, they have had to fight off invasions. The United States went in and occupied Haiti in 1915. And when they went in 1915, they took land away from Haitians and gave it to people offshore. Land went to some rich Middle Easterns. You can see those names in Haiti right now who actually live in Florida but call themselves Haitians and are powerful families in Haiti. They took money. The U.S. government stripped the bank of Haiti of this money and put it in the banks in the United States. And the U.S. enforced the repayment of reparations from Haiti to France with military power. As Haitians have become more aware of this, as they start organizing independent movements, as they try to develop their own independence and self-determination, it has threatened the political powers of U.S., particularly France and Canada, as a triumvirate that is organized to control Haiti for the international capitalist regimes, basically. And they have gotten forces in the Haitian elite, Haitian family elites, and other political powers that grow up to ally themselves with France, the U.S., and Canada in suppressing the grassroots movement for independence. But what Haiti represents is a political force that can make a difference. I don't believe that we can ever gain the kind of independence, freedom, support for our own economic interests, political interests in the United States as a mass of people if we can't see the development of some other Black country that has political independence and power that we can be a part of and identify with. Now, we have more economic power in the United States in many ways than the people of Haiti have. But what the people of Haiti can attain, as it could happen in some other Black countries, what the people of Haiti could attain is independence, self-determination. And that would be cultural, political, economic self-determination that moves for the masses of people and interests of people. And that would be a powerful example for what we can ally ourselves with, what we can identify with, and what we can do legislative work around, giving support for that. If we can't do that, if that doesn't happen, we're not going to have our freedom. The argument that as long as one of us is not free, we're all not free. Well, as long as we don't have a free economic political power that is in this hemisphere, for example, such as Haiti, we're not going to have the kind of political economic power that we need in the United States. That's why we have to support it. I work and do political work around Haiti, again, not because of some moral imperative. I do it because I think it's politically necessary to fight for humanitarian interests wherever we are in the world and make contact with people. I fight for it for around Haiti because it's close to us. It is an example that we can learn from, and it has a greater potential at this moment than some of the other places that are closer to us because they have had this revolutionary history, this long struggle. We should be supportive of independence for all the other island countries, but Haiti is closer to attaining that because of its history. It's resolute political organization that's called Lava Lost that I've been connected with. And Haiti can make a difference to the U.S. imperial aims in the islands and its U.S. domination and power in the global South in general. That means around the world, but certainly in this hemisphere. So there's a need. There's a need for the State Department. There's a need for political pundits. There's a need for the neocons to maintain Haiti in chaos, to maintain a political elite that undermines the mass movement, and to maintain that violence that keeps the U.S. Western political powers in control.
Yeah, to feed off of your point, we have to be supportive of Haiti. It's a moral issue. It's also a strategic issue. It's a political issue. And we have strategic power in this country. And in fact, when we exercise it, we act like we don't even know we have it. We put the previous president out of office because of strategic power. Trump was basically put out by Black Lives Matter, COVID, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. The confluence of all those forces knocked his butt out, even though he had 7 million more, largely white women, come to his rescue. But it was the largest turnout that ever happened because this is the reason. Blacks control the radical discourse in this country. The radical orientation of politics in this country comes from Black folks. It would come from Native Americans had they not been wiped out to the numbers of 90%, but they're coming back and they're natural allies of ours. And we have other natural allies as well. So we have strategic power. I'm going to give an example for people who are watching this show. Malcolm, in his last major speech, the last message, which was given after his house had been firebombed, he flew to Detroit and had to be sedated. And so as a result, he said, I'm not going to be able to give a speech. You could call it a talk, but it was the most perceptive of all the talks he ever gave. And this is why he made this observation, because he had been out of the nation for a short period of time. He had traveled most of his time in Africa, but he began to appreciate the position of Blacks in the United States. He made this observation. He said, I formerly thought that the African Revolution on the outside of the house was the most threatening, but I now realize it's the one going on inside of the Western house. He was speaking primarily of the United States, but he also meant the Africans who moved from the Caribbean, French-speaking to France, English-speaking to Britain, and so forth. And he said, we are in a strategic position because we're inside the house and we can upset the furniture, So that's number one. Then he made the other observation that I have experience in, and I've made this myself. I concluded this on my own as well. Our strategic position enables us to create chain reactions. Those chain reactions are among the forces that go against the system in this country. For example, Blacks' position on Vietnam, we were the first to oppose that war. It created a chain reaction. When the Black Panther Party picked up guns, and this was surprising, people in my previous shows have heard this, Emory Douglas was the person that pointed it out, it inspired, of all groups that least needed inspiration, Native Americans to form the American Indian movement. Do you hear me? And this is not to say that other groups don't have power and they can't do their own thing. But we're one of 3 groups of Africans in the world that can create chain reactions. Africans on the continent, Africans here, and sometimes African Jamaicans. The Jamaicans create chain reactions. And for history's example, Haiti, because Haiti created the original chain reaction. And without that chain reaction, there would not have been a Denmark-Vesey rebellion. So the question is this: how do we use our strategic power in this country as we're moving for power? And you better be moving for some now, because fascism is on the rise. Crypto fascism is ready to assume its position in the White House if Trump gets back in under Project 2025 and a host of others. And so if we could put a president out of the White House and prepare him for the jailhouse, what can we do for allies? And in the case of Haiti, I would say this: at every point at which the strategic interests of people or parties that we're aligned with, that we may support but may not like, one of the central demands has to be that if you want to get into the White House, if you want this or that, Haiti's the issue. Haiti's the issue. And you've got to hang it in such a way that they have to back off positions, as Biden has had to back off of a lot of his criminal justice positions that he had on blacks before, as he had to back off on position of a black vice president. You can complain all you want about Kamala Harris, but it was your power that forced him to do that. You hear me? He's been pushed out of the center, out of the right, into a position that's better, not on foreign policy at all. And you need to oppose him on almost all his foreign policy. But the key point is you have strategic positions to create change. And at every point, you need to be demanding that. When Obama sent his little force back into Haiti with the military, I told my wife what was happening. But black people were silent on Obama. Why? Because they said, oh, he's our black president. Right. Oh, we'll upset the white people. No, Obama had the House and the Senate when he first came in and could do what he wanted to. And when he had those corporate heads on a platter, when he could deliver them or cut their heads off, he let them go. But when he saved the auto dealers, the auto, general
industry,
and whatnot, the kind of conditions that were imposed on workers were ridiculous. Retirement, 2-level pay levels, all kinds of stuff. But these bankers who caused the thing, they got away scot-free and got free handouts, and we lost 40% of our housing. And why did we do it? Because we didn't exercise our strategic power, because we could have put our foot up his behind. But there was no foot, not a black foot, brown foot, red or white foot going on, because people thought he was the change and that's what he wanted you to think. So I agree with you. We have the power to exercise that, and we need to exert it. In the case of Haiti, it should be project number 1 when it comes to an international agenda. Every strategic issue that affects them, that they can't survive without us, that's the condition. Get out of Haiti, withdraw all your stuff, let people have their own elections to pick their own leaders, and disarm these forces that you have allowed to come in there. And in fact, if the Israelis have the right to have dual citizenship, and they can go in and join the Israeli army, you hear me? I have a doctor who, I kept her because I figured she was military, so I could give her an order and she'd do it. And then she's research oriented. But she's a doctor and she had served time in the Israeli military. You understand? With all of you who are trained in how to shoot usually the wrong people, you know what I mean? Let us use some of that to give support to the people there. Now, the people there can fight. That is, they can fight better than us. And by the way, I also take this position that the strongest cultural group in the Western Hemisphere is the Afro-Haitian. The second strongest is us, but they're first because their culture defeated slavery and they continue to fight under the most horrendous circumstances. So I agree with you on that. And, we need national organization. I know there are some, and I know you're a part of a major formation here in the Bay Area. But we need formations that concentrate that strategic power to give that kind of support to Haiti. I agree with you. Absolutely. You got any other comments on that?
Well, the masses of Haitians are unarmed, and that's because of an embargo on arming. The arms that are in Haiti have come from the U.S. There are no arms that goes into Haiti that don't get approval from the U.S. Even the ones they say that are smuggled in, the numerous amount. We can look at some of the things that have happened with mercenaries in Haiti. The people who actually killed the last president were trained with U.S. military arms and support outside of Haiti. A previous group of military folks that were in there with the long list of to assassinate were people who had been trained, and they were there with military equipment that had come from the U.S. Every military leader in Haiti of significance for the last 50 years or more have been trained at the U.S. School of the Americas, as it is for most military folks in this hemisphere and south of the U.S. border. And they have been people that's part of the opposition to Aristide, because he disbanded the military, understanding that the military did not operate in the interests of Haitians. It operated in the interests of a political economic elite in Haiti and allied with the U.S. And when he disbanded them, that became the signal for getting rid of him, to try and bring back the chaos and control in Haiti, in addition to his claim for reparations. So there are people there now that are armed, that are part of what others are calling gangs, that are part of a organized attempt to keep Haiti in chaos. It is true that one of the aspects of capitalism is that it can create chaos and fighting among itself. That's why capitalism can't work for very long for this period of our human struggle, human development, because there's going to be chaotic aspects of capitalism. They'll fight, they'll have world wars, they'll fight to maintain power and domination, and masses of people will be killed while the elites maintain their position and their safety. Other people fight for them. As crazy as it was, when there were monarchs who fought each other and their subjects died, lived in horrible conditions. And that's where we're facing right now, that kind of approach, that the people that need to be in Haiti developing the movement are not getting support from folks here. The people who are maintaining the oppression and maintaining the chaos are getting tremendous support from various sectors of the U.S., Canada, and France. They're getting arms, they're getting publicity, they're getting policies that allow them to be in power. This previous president decided he was going to take money for himself and take some political power for himself against other members of the elite. And they said, no, you can't do that. And they got rid of him. And the person that's there now, Henry Henry, is part of the forces that has fought against the Lavalas movement, fought against Aristide, fought against the popular movement, where people are trying to maintain and develop some sense of dignity and support for themselves and some independence. The present government in Haiti does not support an open and free election. They're trying to maintain their power. The U.S. has various times given recent executive leaders in Haiti carte blanche to do what they want, power by decree, which is a dictatorship, basically. They don't even call it that, when in fact it is exactly what that has been in the past, giving them political power to rule by decree. In any other world, in any other circumstance and analysis, there would be publicity that this is a dictatorship that has been authorized by the United States, and a dictatorship that doesn't serve the interests of the folks in Haiti. The mass movement in Haiti is still trying to develop and be a part of developing a coalition approach to government, solving the problem so they can have an open and free elections. The grass movements folks in Haiti are saying, let's come together, even those of us who don't agree, but who want to ensure that we have a grassroots a movement that we can ensure a free and open election. Let's do it ourselves and get rid of the United States, get rid of Canada, get rid of France, get rid of the international community and running this election. because when the U.S. runs it, the people that get elected are U.S. support puppets, and that's the big struggle right now. The people who are kidnapping, the people who are the gangs who are sectioning all parts of the communities for their control, or people who have gotten arms from the West. And they can do it because they have arms from the West. And they are some of them are doing it because they've gotten training from the West in terms of military training. This guy who is called Barbecue, who has been sanctioned, was a part of the police force that was paid for and trained by the U.S.
Barbecue is still active?
He's still active. He gets even more publicity after the UN report just named him as a bad actor. But he's been named as a bad actor for the movement for a long time. He was in the military until not so long ago when it became clear that he was massacring people that were part of the Lavalas movement. We've taken testimony. I was there in 2019, the last time it was safe to go there, with Maxine Waters, Danny Glover, Pierre Lavoisier, and Margaret Prescott, reporter at the time from Los Angeles and in Pacifica Radio. And we took testimony from people who talked about these guys coming in. They heard them on their telephones talking to various names of folks that they know that were part of the government, that are connected to the government at the time, that was connected to the U.S. State Department. I was there in 2019, and the ambassador said that these were gangs. The USAID person said these are independent gangs, and we argued at the ambassador's headquarters, and we talked about it, and we said they are not gangs. And I remember walking out, and the ambassador comes over and says to me, "Well, we know they're not gangs."
No, they armed them.
They armed them. Exactly. So she's just, trying to have it both ways, but she's saying this is our official position. That was in 2019, Trump was still in power. But that was part of the approach of Obama. That's been part of the U.S. government's approach. Every government has carried out the U.S. policy of maintaining chaos and control and domination of Haiti, because they don't want that representative of the struggles, the historic relationships, as I said before, and the present resilience of the Haitian people to develop independence, to help to ignite and be part of the struggles here. We, as you say, and we all say, we know we have power, and if we don't exercise it for our benefit, we don't exercise it to give support to liberatory struggles around the world, liberatory movements, liberatory literature. But in terms of liberatory military power, we have the ability in the United States to uplift, to ensure that people can fight for their independence. But we haven't been doing it.
Yeah, we have to. And, your point about the gangs, this has been a continuous thing. They aren't really gangs, because the guns are shipped in from the United States, the bullets are shipped in, and the people who are recruited, they're recruited by political actors who work for the United States, who come out of elite groups that get fat off of this, and they each have armed groups. And those armed groups go out and kill any opposition that's got anything to say, like they did Dessalines, who had the vision of the Haitian Revolution. Dessalines said that everyone in Haiti that owned land had to be black. If you had a drop of black blood in you, you were black. He also said only blacks could own land, but he said the wealth of Haiti, in this case, the land, had to be equitably distributed. He was killed for that.
Right.
That is the issue today. That elite wants everything, so that the areas in which people are being killed, where they claim it's gangs, these are poor people. These are the members of the Lavalas party, of Aristide. These are people who want their lives to be uplifted. Could you talk briefly about, or as long as you want, about Aristide, what Aristide represented, what he accomplished for the people, and what happened to him after he proceeded to implement, along with his people, programs that benefited the people? Could you just explain some of the things that Aristide did?
Well, very quickly, Aristide started out as a priest, as a Catholic priest. It's a Catholic government, a Catholic society by and large. Many discussions are that Haiti is like 80% Catholic, 20% Protestant, and 100% Voodoo or Vaudon. and that's a cultural thing. And Aristide, comes from the culture of the folks as a poor person in Haiti growing up, becoming a priest, understanding that nature of the struggles that he had been involved with. But in the middle 80s, Aristide became more prominent in being a part of the mass movement to end the Baby Doc regime. The son of Papa Doc, supported by the Kennedys, tremendous horror that he imposed upon the Haiti people in order to fight the left, in order to fight communism. They, in fact, put down a left rebellion with U.S. support very viciously that people don't know about a lot. But the movement developed. Masses of people were engaged in struggle. Aristide, for example, was one time in a church in a community where he was a preacher, a Catholic priest, and the people were very much involved in supporting that liberatory struggle that he was engaged in, liberation theology that became known in the West for some time. And the mayor of the town, which was an ex-general trained at the School of the Americas, had been involved in a long campaign to put down the movement of the masses of folks there. Had him locked into the church with folks, and they set the church on fire. And as people tried to come out, they were shooting them. We know that method. We've seen it in movies. We've seen it, but it's been part of policy. Kit Carson did it, and it's been going on in the U.S. Forever, and the way we operate in other countries. But Aristide was able to escape and continue to develop the movement. And by 1991, he was in the process where the Catholic Church was removing him from his position of priesthood because he was engaged in uniting with the people in liberation struggle. But in 91, he was selected to run for president without having had a long slate of offices, not a party that was taking power. He was one lone person in Lavalas that got elected to be president, and he was surrounded by other folks that had connections with the neocon movement, with the State Department movements at the time. He was in office for about 6 months before he was expelled by the military. He came around and moved around the world to develop support for him. Took him developing in the people's movement here and in the rest of the world another 5 years before his return. He was returned in 1996 after tremendous movement with Haitians on the ground in Haiti that made it impossible for the military leaderships to maintain power. Movements in the United States, movements in Europe, movements in other parts of Africa supporting him. Clinton had to return him in order to have any semblance of ability to operate in that sphere. So he returned, and he was in office to serve out the rest of his term in 96. That was less than a year. And he couldn't run again as part of that. In 2000, he ran again as for president and won. And in 2000 was a year, remember, that Bush was put in by the Supreme Court. And in 2000, there was a spring election that Lavalas won the vast majority of the seats. In the spring election, the presidential election was in the fall. In the spring election, there were several seats that were several seats. I think it was maybe 8 seats that were questionable. And there was some question that Lavalas hadn't actually won those seats. So the Lavalas folks decided that they would give up those seats and there'd be a re-election. In the fall, Aristide won, open and free, uncontroversial, about 80% of the vote. George Bush II decided that a way of getting rid of Aristide was to claim that the Lavalas election was corrupt. The issues were existing in the spring election, but the fall election, there was no issue around that. But he made that the PR campaign, and he got support from all the major media in the Western Hemisphere that Aristide was corrupt and had to give up. So they, after he was in office from 91 to 94, they, having developed that campaign, paid for forces to organize militarily to take him out. Colin Powell was part of that struggle to take Aristide out of office. They kidnapped Aristide. we were being told that, you know, they were going to kill him. Aristide was kidnapped in the middle of the night with his family, taken out of Haiti, and the U.S. went in with its military and occupied. They went in with the military and occupied the Aristide Foundation. They occupied the medical school and law school that we are now making a major effort in supporting, where we are building a hospital. They organized, and the U.S. bivouacked in the hospital, destroyed things with their gun butts, destroyed the hospital, put the doctors out, the doctors that had been there in training with the Cuban doctors. Aristide was out of the country from 2004 until 2011, first in Central African Republic under military guard, and then he tried to come back and was sent back to South Africa. He came back to Haiti in 2011 after the earthquake, and has been rebuilding the hospital, has been putting the party together. By the way, the Lavalas was outlawed by the U.S. and its supporters in Haiti, could not run for office from 2004 until 2000 till a few years ago. They were only then allowed to run for office, but they had been under attack. Various forces in Haiti, with the support of military equipment, military supplies, arms, killed folks in Haiti. The first coup in Haiti in the 90s, about, you know, thousands of people were murdered who were supporters of Lavalas and Aristide. In the 2004 coup and kidnapping of Haiti, tens of thousands were killed who didn't support the U.S. position. In 2011, when he came back, there was still a military violent struggle against Lavalas. People were being shot. People were being sent out of the country. And there were attempts to try and claim Aristide was an international criminal. Made up stories by members of the Haitian elite. There were even stories that he was eating babies because they were saying Aristide was a voodoo priest. Printed in the New York Times, claiming, you know, no editorial responsibility, just printing stories. All kinds of lies get told about foes of the U.S. State Department and foes of the U.S. policies, and people believe them. If you tell a lie that a black man is stealing money, if that black person is running for office in Oakland or any place in the United States, black people will tend to go along with it, who are part of the elite, and don't attack it. And the greater dominant society generally believes it. If you say it about somebody in a foreign country, people say, I don't know what's true, but, you know, they're like that kind of a thing. And we in this country have some responsibility for allowing that to happen, particularly we as black folk. Have some responsibility for allowing that to happen. We need to be accountable to ourselves, to our movement, to our people. But Aristide has represented the leadership of the Lavalas Party and the leadership for accountability and anti-corruption movement. At this point, his role is building an educational institution in Haiti and trying to maintain the integrity of the party as a party of the masses, and not making deals for its gaining power by concessions with the United States. That party now is calling for and supporting a coalition government, an interim government, to build a coalition for a free and non-interventionist election. And out of that, they say, we will rely upon this movement to build independence. They're not saying that we have to be the only party. They're not even saying that we have to be the decision maker. They have confidence that if they are allowed some freedom to develop within a coalition, that they will be able to ensure that democratic freedoms will prevail. And that's the confidence of the people, and that's the resilience. And that is what scares, you know, certain political forces and policymakers in the U.S., you know.
Yeah, because their power, they have the base among the people. With good leadership, they can maneuver and control a coalition. Two questions here. One, what were the achievements of Aristide during the periods in which he was in office? I understand they were substantial, and specifically with the universities that he has operating, a medical school and others, what has been accomplished there. But first, what did he actually accomplish? Because I understand he accomplished quite a bit.
Yes, he did. Some of the primary things that he accomplished was to develop a literacy program that began to play a major role in developing more and more people being able to read. Haiti, a majority of the people speak Creole. That is, they don't speak French. Many of the educated folks speak French, and all of the elite families speak French. And there's been a suppression among some of those forces for people who speak Creole. If you speak Creole, you're not educated. That was part of the cultural. We have some racist aspects of those kinds of things, or anti-blackness in our own country. He also made an alliance with the people who lived in the rural areas. He himself has on his birth certificate designation that he grew up, that he's part of this rural community, and they were also discriminated against as a group of folks. And people get those designations. Aristide developed an educational program. He developed an educational institution. He developed a housing movement to try and give land back to folks. He developed an agricultural reform movement. We might remember that in 1998, Bill Clinton dumped rice in Haiti, that is, used U.S. rice to destroy the rice market in Haiti. Haiti was exporting rice, able to feed their people. But when they dumped the rice in Haiti, they made it so cheap that the rice growers in Haiti couldn't grow rice because they couldn't afford to grow rice.
That's a staple food for them.
Right. And then many of the people who were living in the rice growing areas and doing the rice growing then couldn't survive because they couldn't plant the rice. They didn't have the resources to do that. They have to water the rice. There was water restrictions. And so they ended up moving more and more into the cities. There had been a population shift back in the 50s where more and more people went. So people went to live under the bridges and in the shanty towns, on the hillsides, that created so many opportunities for destructions, and like the Falau, and many other places. Aristide tried to create land reform. He was ensuring there was support for the farmers. He also started the industrial changes in Haiti by building industrial relations in other parts with the rest of many other parts of the world, where they were building factories in Haiti where people were getting paid decent wages. The wages were not the same wages that we had here, but before Aristide, people were living on less than $1 a day. And workers were getting less than $1 a day, and they needed half the wages just to get to work and come back. Some went to work, but Aristide was promoting a decent wage for folks developing factories, spending government money in investments in factories. He got attacked by certain industries because he was asking for better working conditions, better wages. He also got attacked by certain leftists in the United States, because he was saying we have to have workers, we have to have working conditions that people can live under, and we're willing to work with folks in building some of these better working conditions in various places. But because he was saying that and making some alliances to get that done in clothing industry and so forth, where people had the best wages that they had ever had before and best working conditions, other folks who were revolutionary adventurers were saying, you got to fight, and they were not in a position to do that. He was not prepared to carry out an armed struggle at that time. He was prepared to make reforms in Haiti. He, in addition to education, he played a role in developing healthcare by bringing in doctors and developing medical training that people were using throughout the country, much in the manner of the Cuban doctors. That's why Cuban doctors were playing a major role in Haiti. People were getting medical attention for the first time. Kids were getting to go to school that had not had a chance to go to school. There's this group of folks called Rostovics that are in the lowest levels of society that were not acceptable to much of the Haitian elite. They were the workers in their houses. They were the people that they put their feet on. And he was uplifting that. He was trying to move Haiti from absolute destitution to some dignity at that time. He was also organizing the housing industry so that there could be better housing. The housing that was being built, particularly in the city of Port-au-Prince by Aristide, did not get destroyed by the earthquake, for example, whereas other houses around them was destroyed by the earthquake. That was true for some of the buildings. There were some tall buildings, not skyscrapers, but tall buildings that were built as apartment buildings that stood within the earthquake zone and did not get destroyed by the earthquake, and people continued living. He started open green areas that were really important to the folks in these communities, particularly in these communities where people were living, in flood areas. He started building roads and channels for the water and parks where people could go and play, where kids could play. Things that were very important to the people. He developed the leadership and work with women, and women became a major force in Lavalas, which is particularly significant around, we know historically and internationally, that women do a lot of economic survival work that makes it possible for families to get ahead, to keep the children alive, to keep the families going. And he supported that. There are many other aspects of things he was doing in terms of international relationships, trying to develop a state that had allies in the world and allies in with other groups of Black people around the world, and that was a danger to the U.S. He disbanded the military, and he wanted to reorganize the police in order to end the corruption in police departments. There's a long list of things that he's done, that he did. Some of the things were smaller, just in terms of working with individuals and bringing individuals to power. He brought together the foundation that was organizing a communication system, in addition to the reading and writing, but communication systems that was verbal communication system. He had the biggest radio tower in Haiti at the time. And after the coup in 2004, that tower and that radio station was taken apart and helped. And with those materials, built several other radio stations. But the radio station that was being used was also one that was promoted by Youth Radio that came right out of the Bay Area, East Bay. Youth Radio played a major role in developing the radio station for Lavalas, and that was destroyed because it was something that was giving information and organizing and playing a role in developing mass understanding of the role and participation in democracy. The things that he did was represent the organizing effort of the grassroots to move to power. He was defrocked by the Catholic Church because he was in favor of the people and preaching to the people. That's not new.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got to some of the things that you were, if I didn't have the list.
No. That's excellent. And it shows what happens when you have leadership that cares about the people and comes from the people, because a lot of the money that he had was blocked, and he did this often without financing. He produced he produced more than any single leader in the history of Haiti. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah,
yes,
that's correct. With nothing financially, nothing.
He got promised to a loan, a $900 million loan to do infrastructure development by Clinton, and that was never delivered. But the financial institutions then required that loan be made available, so they had to pay interest on that loan for a number of years. So they serviced the loan without getting the use of the loan. They had to give it up because they couldn't get use of the loan. He called for reparations from France for the losses that they had. And I just want to say this because there was a guy named Regis Debray that was a popular revolutionary from the 60s. He did a lot of writing. He talked about the war, the flea, and all kinds of things. There are a lot of groups in urban warfare. He went to visit, Regis Debray went to visit Che Guevara and in the hills, and shortly after, Che Guevara was found and killed by the CIA. When Aristide has been calling for reparations for some time, and somewhere around the late 2010 or so, France sent this revolutionary representative to Haiti to determine whether or not France should pay reparations because he had this international reputation as a lot of folks here know Regis Debray.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And he went to Haiti and said, no, they don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to say something about certain kind of left talking, but not left acting revolutionaries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just one thing, and we'll wrap this up. And there's a few questions, and I think there are a few other things that come out. We'll be finished. How many people? First of all, the foundation that you're a part of provides finances for the university. Could you explain what does the university do? How many people have graduated, so forth?
It's a Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, founded in 2004, and we first started out with at Vanguard, and then Vanguard, imploded, and we developed a fiscal sponsor is the East Bay Sanctuary Covenant. We are nonprofit money comes to Haiti Emergency Relief Fund that goes to support the grassroots movement in Haiti. We support market women. We've done such things as provide mules for people who have to come out of the mountains with their market goods, because sometimes they start at 3 o'clock in the morning to make the market by daybreak. So, and they couldn't carry very much. So we have done things as providing mules in various places so that people could carry more and they don't have to get up as early to go. We've provided water systems for people in the farming area over the years, organizing that, people who are involved in building agricultural collectives. We provided money to help seeding. Monsanto, one of the places that Monsanto has not been successful is in Haiti because of the grassroots movement and the farmers said you cannot come in here with Monsanto. We could talk about how terrible Monsanto has been for people in all over the world, in addition to the United States. We provided money to developing seeding centers so that people could maintain seeds without losing all of that because of the disasters and so forth. That keeps the farming industry independent and not having to deal with Western seed controls. We provided monies for schools, a number of schools across the country. Aristide was developing a movement supporting public education that got destroyed. But we supplied money for the schools, where people are organizing schools. Haitian kids want to go to school. I mean, more than here, but most 4-years want to go to school. But the Haitian kids grow up wanting to go to school. So we provided money to help support a lot of schools in Haiti for people can go to schools and teachers to continue. We have provided money to support the hospital, support the medical school that has graduated several thousand doctors since 2011, nurses, technicians are being developed. We have supported that school that's graduated lawyers, that have graduated agricultural workers, and that comes from the money from the grassroots. They don't get international support from state departments or anybody else. We have recently been a major force in helping to develop a hospital. They have put together a hospital in Haiti that is a training hospital, a surfacing hospital for people in Haiti. And we are now providing funding to help them support putting the furniture in the hospital, putting the technological equipments in the hospital, and that's all developing. They are now servicing hundreds of people on a regular basis, and it's growing. They're needing a lot more things with the machines and technology that comes from hospitals. The major aspect of our funding at Haiti Emergency Relief Fund has been to support the people who are in the grassroots movement, because grassroots activists get attacked. Before the development of the NGOs, where people started getting money from the government and funding forces to run NGOs as community organizers, and all the problems that occurs, we know that community organizers were always under scrutiny and getting attacked for either doing something that the government didn't like or being attacked by corporate media, and so that they didn't get that funding. So we were always engaged in that. But in Haiti, there's been a major NGO movement that undermines the governmental operations of Haiti by and large, as they did in South Africa. Remember that Mandela said, "We need the money. We don't need all of these NGOs that are deciding what government policy would be, what community policies have to be." And in Haiti, one of the ways of outside control is through NGOs that make all the decisions about how things get done for them, and they don't have to be representative of anybody other than the funders. Not that sometimes they do some good work. The people that we work with are the people. The money goes to the grassroots movement, and they decide how they're going to do it. We don't say how they're going to use it. It goes to them, and they decide how they do it. And so the grassroots organizers are able to do food work. They are able to do medical support work. They're able to do organizing in the industrial areas. They're able to do organizing in the farming areas, and they decide how the money gets distributed and how it gets organized. In Haiti, Haiti Emergency Relief Fund does that work. That was part of the question. I don't know what was the other part of it.
No, that's it, and that's a lot, and that's also what we should be doing, because we got this $1 trillion plus and access to foundation money and everything else. So it's beautiful what you've done, and the smart thing is give it to the people, because the people know what they need, and the best part of the people to give it to is women.
Right. It's always been that way.
Women are going to look out for their families, and it's not that men aren't all right, but I've learned from experience. My best friend, Candy Solowazi, he's an observer of African women and Black women in particular, been married over 50 years. And he also makes this observation about African women, African-American women. They make things happen.
Right.
If you put it in their hands, something's going to happen. That Black freedom movement, without them, there wouldn't have been one. You saw the men up front, but the fact is the people who were making things happen, it was often women and men, but often women. You know what I mean?
Women, right, exactly.
That's key. That's key.
That's been a world aspect of things, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say, Brother Walter Riley, Attorney Walter Riley, it's an honor to have had you on the show, but more important, you're one of the unsung heroes that we have as a people. A lot of people don't know about people like you who are doing day-to-day work, busting, whatever they have to get something done for the people, and as well as standing up in court and defending people who have been a part of the criminal injustice system, the police, murders, and everything else. So we love you. We really respect your work, and the kind of support work that the foundation has done is just simply outstanding, both at the financial level and at the political level of grassroots organizing, here in this country to get support for Haiti. So I want to thank you for your work, and tell your son I also said hello.
I will.
I know he's proud of you. You're proud of him, but I know he's real proud of you, because when he talks about you, a great big smile comes across his face for good reason. You know what I mean? Anything you want to conclude this on?
People should look up the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund.org. Haiti Emergency Relief.org. It's the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, and our money goes not to anybody here, no overhead. It goes to the movement on the ground in Haiti.
Right.
Helps to keep the liberation movement going. There's always a question that you get dealt with by the State Department, whether or not you're giving material aid to various folks. Well, our money goes to the ground, and they decide what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, right on.
So
and I know the State Department just loves that, because they support democracy. They just love that.
Yeah, they have.
So I want to thank you, and a few comments, and you could respond to these. One is from, and I didn't have a chance to do acknowledgement for the people. I usually do. Excuse it this time. Komazar, Komazar, Komiczar. Brother H.R. Clinton owns at least one gold mine in Haiti. I guess that's Haiti.
Haiti, that's the old spelling of Haiti.
Okay.
Haiti. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Could you discuss Clinton's role, what he owns, but you would also discuss with me some of the things he did when he was forced to bring Aristide back, the conditions he put on him?
Well, the conditions he put on Aristide was one that he shouldn't run again. Aristide didn't run again for office, and they were not allowed to participate in the open election process, part of the control of the State Department. But again, it was 2 years after Aristide finished out his term in 96 that Clinton dumped the rice and destroyed the Haitian agricultural industry in that. But Clinton's foundation, Clinton's international foundation is made up of folks who want to invest in various parts of the world. As president, he had already done his damage in Haiti in making his ties. But after his presidency, he, using his ties with the U.S. government, went into Haiti to give support to certain particular entities. And the entities that he supported were entities that supported him, their foundation. Clinton required the government of Haiti to sell off its national communications industry. Aristide had developed national industries. One of the biggest, most profitable industries was the communication industry in Haiti, and Clinton, the U.S. government required that they privatize it. And when they privatized the industry, it was sold off to a person that the international media said was a Korean investment guy, but he was actually living in America, if not an American citizen, and he was a member of the Clinton Foundation. So he was a good friend of Clinton that they sold it to. And the price of that international communication industry was sold to this person by a puppet government for less than the value of one client, one of their clients for a year, one of the yearly income that they got from a client. So it was simply a boondoggle that was forced upon him. And I'm sure that people got money, pockets lined, for that, but that was just part of what Clinton did. We organized the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund and named it Haiti Emergency Relief Fund back in 2004. During the earthquake, Clinton named his fundraising group Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. Some other groups did the same thing, and we did some cease and desist letters, but we don't have the ability to fight the Clinton folks. So when you want to give money to HaitiEmergencyRelief.org, be sure that you look on it and see the offices. I am one of the offices. Pio Labosiere is one of the offices. Robert Roth is one of the offices, and Marilyn Law is one of the offices. Seth is one of the Nia offices. But you can find us, and you can look at the site. You'll see who it is. So don't get confused by that. Clinton has been part of ensuring that Clinton Foundation has been in part of ensuring that certain folks get into office. Hillary Clinton, when she was in the Obama administration, was in the Middle East, engaged in some strategically important discussions. But in Haiti, there was a discussion about who was going to be president. And Hillary flew back and made a demand that the folks in their sphere of influence support Matali. And Matali was a disaster for Haiti. And he's a guy that, did, as president, pull his pants down and show his ass in public, which is an insult sort of to the masses of folks in Haiti. But, you get these young folk around the world who support you. And there's been some of the confusions about the Fugees and who and where they land in the struggles around Haiti. They have landed and supported the elite in Haiti. So,
yeah, and Clinton, the rice that he dumped on Haiti was designed to support the rice economy of the state that he had been governor of.
right.
And then the irony of this is the rice economy of the U.S., though rice is not indigenous to Africa, it was brought into Africa, and many enslaved Africans, particularly from the West African areas that grew rice, were brought in specifically to grow rice. And there was a whole rice culture coming out of that. And people who grew rice, they had a more coherent cultural base, because along with rice went fishing, went a whole economy, but that economy comes out of Africa. And then he's using this to do in the economy of Haiti, to protect Arkansas. And then after Clinton does the dirt, he always does the apology. I did it. I was wrong. Yeah. He sat over the genocide of the people of Rwanda, and allowed it to happen. Machetes killing over 1 million people. He could have stopped it with the flick of his finger. So could have other African states, and did not. And then later goes to that country and at the airport apologizes.
Right.
What the hell does an apology mean when you do systematic murder, when you kill a people's economy, when you kill their lifeblood? That was deliberate. Clinton was one of the worst presidents blacks have had, and too many have been fooled by him. Ended welfare when it was less than 1% of the federal budget. Ended public housing. Created a federal crime for carjacking. That is a death sentence. A death sentence. You could actually be put to death if you could steal, if you stole a car in a way in which it was enumerated as a federal crime. This was one cold-blooded sucker.
The omnibus crime bill, the attack on welfare.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the publicizing of the what was called the wilding, which was totally outrageous. Clinton, Trump, and Hillary were the forces behind making that a national call, and that black folk and young black people are at this moment in a cultural development of wilding, and they are out.
Yeah. And Hillary has the nerve now to say the high suicide rates that are being experienced in this country among youth, among whites and blacks, and for the first time in history, from 7 to 11-year-olds, I've covered this in my show before, we have the lowest suicide rates in the country, even though they've been going up. But for the first time in history, 7 to 11-year-old black kids have the highest suicide rate, among that age group. And she's saying it's due to loneliness. It's due to loneliness. There's truth in that. You busted up families. Right. So now some kids don't have anybody to raise them. No, the real truth is neoliberalism. The real truth is you crashed black communities. You've also crashed white families by taking good paying jobs away while you left the White House broke. And then Billy, who likes to shop, ended up with 150 million. I'm sure he's got much more than that, and you as well. You know what I mean? And so all of this mystification of oppression, loneliness, like this is some profound discussion. No, the fact is, Garza, who is one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, they've just done a survey of over 200,000 black youth. And what did it show as the top issue? 38% said this was the major problem. They said the major problem was we can't earn enough to sustain a family. And the data shows it. 100 years, 75% two-parent households from 1865 to 1968. Now, 29% black two-parent households. And over that same period, 75% of two-parent households by whites, and now 50%. And that's where our numbers were in 1980 when the drugs began to hit our communities. So, and it was Bill Clinton who implemented the neoliberal policies of George Bush the first. He implemented it.
Exactly.
And most blacks don't even know what neoliberalism is. It's poverty, baby. And the example you gave of giving the radio station to private hands, that's a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to the rich. They know better what to do with it. Yeah, put it in their pocket and sleep on it. That's what they do with it. And then if it's water, then they'll charge you more for water. Water is essential for life. So you got somebody outside who's controlling your water, just as you got to pay for water here. You may pay for water. Water comes from God. It should be free, So yeah, it pisses me off,
Many aspects of the Clinton approach. One of the things that they do is weaponize the idea of blaming the victim in a particular way, which means that you try and find some cultural aspect of the people who are being victimized, and you say that's the responsibility. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, right. Right.
Kids have problems getting up and going to school, and you say, okay, it's because their families don't let them get enough sleep. It become the problems. So you're trying to find it, and it becomes major aspects of how this whole approach, around victim. Everything that's happened in the Black community, they have decided to blame it on some aspect of the Black family.
Yeah, and Moynihan started that process.
Right.
And that was a part of, at the point in which the system had been defined as the enemy, turn around and turn the victim, as Malcolm said, into the criminal.
Right.
And so then that becomes the whole analysis. And so a kid going to school, one of the big obstacles to learning is, first of all, ain't got no textbooks. You ain't got teachers that can teach you rundown classrooms. Most of the budget is being put into charter schools, as over 40% of the school budget in Oakland is. And then kids are going to school with empty stomachs. How are you going to learn and you ain't got nothing to eat?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But you can't talk about that. Right. Don't talk about that. Or talk about the things that led to whatever the problems were the night before, or that led to the housing conditions, that led to the health conditions that make it more difficult. That led to walking down the street and what's happening on the streets, all those conditions. But you want to define it simply as that moment. Somebody threw a cup on the street. So therefore we have kids going by trash, as opposed to the inability for the city to clean up in the Black neighborhoods, or to provide resources in the neighborhood, to provide medical resources so they have the ability to go to school in the morning. So yeah, I mean, that's been part of this process. And we have teachers who go and learn those things. What we used to say when I was organizing in the South, when I grew up, is that we're getting too many of our teachers, and too many of our older teachers had gone to school and learned crap and come back and teach it.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of social policies, so forth.
Exactly.
And we got the movement around the student movement around, educational policy and what's happening in African studies and et cetera has been part of trying to challenge those things. But we have people that are teaching this kind of crap.
Yeah, exactly. The one final thing, and we'll end on this one. Societe Commentary, I think this brother from the continent, he made a comment. I'd like you to respond to this. RFK Jr. leading independent. And then someone else asked, Brother Ogawa, will you clarify that? you want to clarify that one?
RFK is disrupting the process of trying to have people deal with our problems, trying to have people address the issues that we have to face in the electoral process. With the rise of fascism around the world, RFK is undermining our ability to talk about the electoral process and what the political issues are. I don't see him as adding anything to any rational approach. And personally, I think that it's important to research, see what people are doing, see what they're saying, but then don't spend a lot of time trying to deal with them, because every time you have to read an article about RFK, you're less time you have for reading something that's more informative and useful. Make some decisions about where we're going. I don't have time to spend looking up and seeing what RFK is doing now. I know that he's taking crazy positions around medicine. He's attacked every aspect of scientific analysis around the process of dealing with an environment and mobilizing folks. And now he's making these crazy analysis that he should run for president, taking away the opportunity for discussion and inquiry.
Yeah, Steve Bannon who's real strategist for Trump, Bannon has encouraged this. And the whole idea is to get as many people that can possibly run against the Democrats to split the vote. Because if that happens, and the way they've stacked 18 states of voter restriction and stuff, and with Trump having a solid base that will vote for him if he's in jail, that could give the White House to the white boy, that is to Trump. And I would say also the black who is running, he needs his head examined, because he knows darn well he's got enough appeal that he could make the difference. And if you think, and I agree with Cornel West on Ukraine, the U.S. shouldn't be there. The U.S. could have allowed this to negotiate out. They wanted that war to happen. And America's done a lot of other stuff, foreign policy under this president, that's been no good. But you're going to sacrifice your domestic interests for someone else's international interest who also doesn't care about you. Not that I don't care about the Ukrainians. They don't care 2 cents about black people. But the key point is split the vote. That's the game. And I got some people that watch this show that doesn't understand that. Some who are more spiritual than political. But I'm telling you, if your ignorance helped put this boy back in the White House, you're going to be a part of the problem. Get your head wrapped on. And I'm no pro Biden. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not an independent. You understand? I'm a revolutionary. Get that straight. But I am also for the interests of my people. And I am not going to help put someone in that's going to start a fascist process that is going to put you right down the drain. And you'll only understand it when it happens. So get your head straight. There's a sister here who just asked a question. I'm wondering why Kenya sent police to Haiti. Isn't that supporting imperialism?
It is absolutely supporting imperialism. The people of Haiti do not want outside intervention. Every time there's been an occupation, it's created more violence and more likelihood of violence. It makes it impossible for the people of Haiti to solve their problems. What Haiti needs is for the coalition government, the interim government, to be allowed to develop its policies for running government and get the occupation forces out. But there are already UN forces in Haiti. They don't call them the occupation anymore. Kenya wants to do this. They've done it in other places. They want to do that because whatever they think they're getting out of it, getting a seat at the table again, but they haven't gotten a seat at the table in other times when they've sent their forces out. The government, the court in Haiti, in Kenya, has to make a decision that's still coming up in January, whether or not they say it's constitutional for them to send these forces. They are at this point talking about sending police forces, officers there, and they don't have a right to send officers according to local government. They can only send military forces, but they will, if not send officers, probably want to send military forces to do the U.S. state international imperialist carry water for them and occupy Haiti. Every occupation has been a disaster for Haiti from before 1915, but certainly since then. The grassroots movement in Haiti does not want it. And the people in Haiti who are calling for outside intervention are folks who do not want to make an effort to solve the problems within Haiti. They want to maintain their power, but they don't want to try and solve these problems and have not tried to. And just another way of staying in power by bringing these. The occupation, most recent occupation in Haiti was a disaster. Brought cholera to Haiti, created more injustices, rapes. Police, UN occupiers shot people point blank in the streets. And one incident that I investigated and others have done. The high school kids were crossing a corner, and on the other corner was the occupiers. And the students had no desire to have any conflict with occupiers. They were just a large group of people crossing the street. The occupiers, the UN forces, opened fire. This is Brazilian forces, opened fire on these kids in the street. For no no apparent reason other than their own biases and the power that they had and know they could get away with it. There are many other kinds of things, the rapes, the injustice in terms of arresting folks and attacking people who were political activists and organizers. They've been part of that, maintaining that chaos.
Yeah,
so Kenya wants to do it for what certain forces in the Kenyan government get out of doing something like this.
Yeah, and the Kenyan government does not represent the Kenyan people.
Absolutely.
The government that's in power, it's a stolen election. And it goes back all the way to Jomo Kenyatta, who some of us misread. I didn't, some of us did, as a so-called freedom fighter, as a Mau Mau. He was in prison. He opposed the Mau Maus. When he came out, he sent a guy in to the forest named General China, who had been a part of the Mau Mau, to tell them to come out. And he gave them a certain limited time to come out, and then they disarmed them. And when they came out, he was sitting on a porch. I was in Nairobi, Kenya, and some people gave me this history. He was sitting on a porch with British guards, and they were saying, Bwana, that's a person. Bwana, are you under arrest? No, Kenyatta didn't trust his own people to protect him, and he's right, because he was an enemy of his own people. So when these people were disarmed who had fought in the rebellion, they got no land. They got nothing, absolutely nothing. And the British had tortured them and everything else, and had killed half their population in occupying the country. So what they're sending in, it's through a government that is as crooked as a pretzel, just like this government. And so they'll do their bidding, as they've done in Somalia. You know what I mean? Bringing on attacks in their own country. This country, wherever they go, they want to destabilize things. And it seems the only policy America has is a military policy. And they can't even win militarily. Notice I'm smiling. What Malcolm said, what makes them sad makes me glad. I used to be a Marine, by the way, brainwashed, reserves. But I woke up. And by the way, at the very date in which I had finished my 6 years, I became chair of San Francisco Corps. My company commander was Pete McCloskey. McCloskey is the one that gave up the information that got Geronimo Pratt out of prison. You know what I mean? And he wanted me to be an officer in the Marine Corps because I'm a soldier, basically, but I was in the wrong army. But by then I had woke up. I said, hell no. My ass ain't going to no Vietnam. And Vietnam hadn't really heated up yet in '63. So I just want to say that this has been a real pleasure. People have got information that you're not going to get on the corporate media. The corporate media is not telling you nothing about any of this stuff. And there are a few shows out there that do give you that information. You need to hit the books and do your own study. But you need to be aware of what's going on. You need to get involved in an organization in your community that's doing something for your people and fight the power. And by the way, I was noting in one of Aristide's books, he was talking about the importance of de-brainwashing. And that is a key component in any organizing you do in the community, is get your head wrapped on right. And we're going to be doing shortly a 6-fold stages to mental freedom transformational process, the same that Cabral went through, Malcolm and others, to help you get your heads wrapped on better. Most of you got your heads wrapped on right, but we'd like to get those who need to really have them wrapped. You know what I mean? Black. You got anything final to say, Walter, before we end this?
No, thank you for letting me be here. And I hope it makes a difference that people have some other sources that they already have, but they should rely upon moving towards a direction of work with the people and trying to understand what's going on. Know who you are supporting when you're supporting folks from other countries, particularly in Haiti. The struggle in Haiti is a struggle against a political elite. There are 8 families or so that run things, but there are ties to those 8 families that are part of the political elite. And they fight among themselves. And when they fight among themselves, it looks like somehow or another for people outside that there's some kind of struggle that represents the grassroots. For the people of Haiti, the grassroots, the movement, I mean the people who go to work every day or look for work or have to survive, do what they do to survive, go to school. What happened at the governmental level of the internal fights has had no real impact on the people. The horrific suffering continues. There's been no attempt by the elite forces in Haiti to end the chaos. They simply continue to make money out of it. When they're being kidnapped themselves, they worry, they scream, they holler, but they're not trying to make structural reforms in Haiti. They don't want to do anything that elevates the masses, because elevating the masses for somehow or another for the elites, wherever they are, some of the nature of contradictions, somehow or another worries them. They would rather have difficulty than elevate the masses. We have seen that in this country. We've seen that with the racists. We've seen it with white power. We've seen it with the white working class that has not wanted to see an end to anti-blackness or racism, because somehow or another it was confusing to them about where they stood in the relationship to power. And they can live in the worst housing and have the worst medical conditions and still will not want to see change because it affects other folks. The elite in Haiti lives well, lives out of the country. For the vast majority of them, there are some of them that live there, and a lot of them are living here among us and pretending that they are revolutionaries, and they are not.
Right. Okay, I really want to thank you for this, and I want to have you on a lot more and to go into some of the other politics that you touched on. And I think it is very important that you know yourself and you know your enemy, and that you be a part of the solution. If you're not already engaged in something in your community that's promoting activism and support for our people, you need to get involved. So I really want to thank you, Walter. You're a jewel to our people. And people, you've had a treasured opportunity to hear a whole lot of wisdom here coming out of somebody who's not controlled by the forces that run the country. You understand? So it's a real pleasure, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Say hello to your wife and say hello to your son.
Okay, I will.
Talk to you later, brother.